All right, so this is the Universe Symphony. We're musicalizing the entire history of the universe, but we have to start somewhere, so let's start on Earth. And I'm going to share this score, and let's see. Here it is. Okay. This movement is one that actually was not inspired by NASA, but by my lifelong love and passion for the aurora. And I wanted to try and convey the majesty and glory, the complexity, the profound sense of awe and wonder, the unique feelings that go through you when you behold the entire sky lit up with these giant, colorful angels of light that are dancing across and constantly changing shape. And I knew that it had to be something that was organic and intricate to try and capture that. So for this movement, I wanted to go with an orchestra. And there are other movements where I'm going to show you how we musicalize data from NASA. But I wanted to show you that I can approach this from the strictly notated orchestral, traditional orchestra approach. So you can see here that there is a kind of an intricate texture that's being built up in the different choirs of the orchestra. There's also a synthesizer choir. There's 4 synthesizers in there, and a number of percussionists. And that's one texture that's, very organic. And then, here's another one that's also kind of complex and intricate that's very different. And I could put more electronics in there, but I think it kind of works as it is. So I'm going to show you the mock-up of this. I have it out to a couple of orchestras, and hopefully we'll get a live performance, but I think you'll enjoy this anyway. So I'm going to stop this share and share the video, and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to play the beginning of it. Oh, and I should mention that all of these movements have visuals that go with them. In other words, I'm not just asking the audience to imagine what I've seen that inspired the music. I'm also going to show you what inspired the music, so you can try and kind of see these things a little bit the way that that I viewed them and felt about them, especially things that are hard to see, like these auroral displays that were videoed by my friend Sean Malone. Okay, that gives you an idea. And hopefully that kind of goes together, the pulsing minimalism with the pulsing northern lights. It's something where to really get a sense of how this should sound, you'd need to have a live orchestra because, you know, it's got that micro counterpoint in there along with the minimalism, because that's the thing that kind of strikes me the most when I'm watching the Northern Lights that you don't see in the videos of them, is that every detail that you think is a rippling layer of light is actually multiple rippling layers of light. It's really hard to describe it or compare it to something else because there isn't anything like it. It really makes like visual effects and stuff look pale because, you know, they're at most doing maybe a half a dozen things at once, and this is nature, you know, can do a million things at once. And for that, I think you need to be organic. All right, so there's one movement that's all notated. Now we're going to get into the taking NASA data and converting that into musical composition. So it turns out that there are sound waves going through the entire universe, but they're extremely low frequency. So they need to be sped up. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, we're going to look at another kind of sonification. Sonification is where you take something that isn't sound and you turn it into sound. And this is actually a completely legitimate scientific technique that's been around for 50 years. If you type in sonification, spelled just like the way it sounds, you'll get a whole bunch of stuff going on for decades. I just wanted to take it a step further. But let me give you an example. Again, we're going to start with something on Earth before we start going further out into the cosmos. And we're going to take a listen to what are called whistlers. It turns out that there are radio waves emitted by almost everything in the universe, naturally. That doesn't require any artificial technology or interpretation. The Earth, the Sun, galaxies, other stars, the Big Bang, everything in the universe emits radio waves naturally. And every monitoring station on Earth and all the ones on the NASA JPL missions have radio antennas to pick up these radio waves. And if you listen to the radio waves through a speaker, it turns out that many of them are in the audio range. And I know this sounds like too fantastic a coincidence to be true, but you know, again, this is the universe. It's bigger than we can imagine, more diverse than we can imagine. So here's a sound of what those auroras sound like when you point a radio antenna at them and play back the radio data through a speaker. No translation. This is just what happens if you were tuning into the aurora like you tune into a radio station on your radio dial. All right. Well, that's okay, that was only about 10 seconds, so I'll play it again to hear it again. But that whistling sound is not man-made or artificial. All of those sources have been filtered out. What you're hearing is the actual sound of the plasma generated by the aurora being picked up by the radio antenna and then played through our speakers here. So when I first heard that, I thought, wow, that sounds almost like some kind of alien bird that's calling, or some kind of sentient thing that's trying to, in its simple way, communicate with us. So I had the idea that for the Earth movement, see, aurora is just a phenomena on the Earth, and I also wanted to depict the whole Earth. Yeah, I know, I'm really grandiose. I can't help it. I was born that way. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the score for that. And see, the players were hearing this in real time, during the rehearsals and then during the performance. So it's notated in the score. Let's see, there it is. I think you guys maybe can see that. This is a much smaller ensemble, and I'll get into why this is a smaller ensemble in just a minute. But you see there's a description here that's saying conversation with the plasma wave. The plasma wave is the technical term for those whistlers. I asked the cellist to listen to that whistling phenomena and then try and imitate it, answer it like they were having a conversation with it, but only on natural harmonics. So that way their instrument would be doing something that's very natural and built into the structure of the cello, just like the whistling sound, the plasma wave, is built into the structure of the Earth. And now the way that ends up sounding is like this. Hopefully this one is up, yes. And you'll be able to hear the whistling, and you'll be able to hear the live instruments having a dialogue with it. Sorry. Okay, so hopefully you heard the little dialogue there at the beginning. And then we go into another section where I'm trying to evoke the kind of voice of humanity through the cello with a tonal melody that an average person could relate to. And you may have noticed that there was some kind of pad or background effect that was going on, and those are other radio emissions from the Earth that I've processed. So they are kind of pulsating like a pad would on a synthesizer, but they're not synthesized by humans. They're just the natural radio emissions from the Earth that I filtered enough so it can kind of stay out of the way of the cello's register. I'm sort of getting the Earth to play nicely with others. And again, that's all happening live while this is being recorded. Now, the reason why there's not a lot of instruments there is something that I can show you now with the next movement. See, part of the concept of universe is to use the data from NASA to create sounds that I can musicalize. So we want to record the musicians performing in the place where the discovery was made. So we're making recordings inside of observatories and other temples of science. If you follow me on Facebook, you probably have seen me posting a lot about the Bobcat fire that was around Mount Wilson, and that's because, well, you'll see, this is the sun movement, where now we're using sounds from the sun that are being played back live while the ensemble performs inside the Mount Wilson Observatory, which, among other things, is the oldest and best equipped solar observatory on Earth, and it's also the place where the Big Bang was discovered. So a lot of history there. And I'll let this video play for a while, in part because it gives you a little bit of a visual sense of what Mount Wilson is like. So as you can see, it's a huge, amazing space. And the acoustics in there are incomparable. There's nothing like it. We did a pretty decent job of recording it, but it's something where you had to be there. It's an experiential, augmented reality kind of experience. The echoing, the reverberation, another airplane. The reverb time in there is like about 8 seconds. And one person talking or a unaccompanied gong will just ring forever and bounce all around and come at you from different angles, and you can't really absorb more than about 3 people or 4 people playing at once because the acoustics are so intense that that's more than enough. So we tried to record it, and I think we did a pretty decent job of giving you a sense of it, but you really had to be there, and that's kind of what each of these Universe Symphony events are. They're a unique experience where it can be recorded and people can get a sense of what it was like, but you really have to be there to really get the full impact. So now you know why the movements that were recorded there have a smaller ensemble, is because the acoustics just don't work for a large group. I mean, you could, but then you'd have to tuck everybody away in a corner and put up baffles, and you'd lose all the wonderful thing that makes it a magical place, is allowing the sound to kind of bounce around through all of this kind of steampunk high-tech equipment from 120 years ago. And I do recommend, if you get a chance, you know, when people can go back up there and visit, that you take a tour. There's also concerts there. So you can take a tour and attend a concert there. And I'll tell you, you haven't lived until you've had a concert inside of a giant telescope. Adrian.
David, was that Cecilia Tson on the cello? Because I know she gives concerts up there.
Yes, I offered it to her first out of, you know, respect, because she
Right.
runs the program there, and then
Yeah.
Marcia Dickstein
On harp, yeah.
and,
Lovely.
we made some interesting percussion instruments as well. You know, we kind of just hung out for an afternoon and designed percussion instruments that you know we could play in that space. And you know, it was hard to get work done because everybody loved the acoustics so much that they would just want to make a sound and listen to it reverberate. All right, so moving on. So now the next level I wanted to kind of get to is where we allow the performers to have a freedom in their playing, where it's not strictly notated. Now, some of that was not strictly notated either, but certainly not the NASA sounds. But maybe I'm doing this a little out of order, but I think it might be good to kind of listen to a little bit about what these sounds sound like when I'm processing them, before and after. So I'm going to play the cosmic microwave background radiation. This is the echo of the Big Bang that you can hear, that is, you can pick up with a radio receiver anywhere in the entire universe. So it's kind of like, the middle C of the universe. It is literally everywhere. I mean, it's in the room where you're sitting, it's everywhere. And this is what it sounds like when you play those radio waves back through a speaker. One more time. So you can hear it kind of has a roaring sound, almost like a noise, but if you were to A/B this with white noise, you'd see it's definitely not white noise. There's some things, some frequencies that are emphasized, some frequencies that are de-emphasized. It's a unique sound. And when I start to musicalize it, well, it sounds something like this. Let's see if I've got this one open. So that's pretty cool, huh? Now, that's all latent in the sound that I played for you, the first sound, but now I've filtered it and emphasized certain frequencies over others. So I've musicalized it. I've given it a little more personality and said, okay, this part's going to be a little more important, that part's a little less important, and we're going to have something new. And bits of that are playing in almost all of these movements because, like I said, it's everywhere. So it becomes part of like the cosmic pad that plays in every movement. Some it plays a bigger role than others. So I think now might be a good time to play a little bit of the Big Bang movement. let's see if that's here. All right. Again, it looks like I need to do it twice before Zoom sees that it's there. Yep, it worked. Okay, and this is recorded by the same ensemble that you saw in the video at Mount Wilson. So you can kind of hear there's a blurring of the lines between what's electronic and organic, and everything is, you know, it becoming one big texture. Now this is something that we do in Hollywood all the time, where, you know, where you blend together electronic and organic sources to kind of create a unique sound. But I'm applying it here in the world of art music. So I guess if we were doing, like, you know, Cosmos or something like that, then there might be a place for some sounds like that. Okay, so now I wanted to show you a simpler version of these same kind of techniques, but applied to notated music. So the electronics that I'm processing, or, you know, the sounds of the universe that I'm processing through electronics, that's really non-notated music. So it's kind of a hybrid between notated music and non-notated music. And it's getting kind of, you know, trippy out there hybrid, but that's what it is. Now I can show you an example of something that's a little more down to earth, where we're also doing that idea of combining notated and non-notated music. Okay, there it is. And we'll start with some notation here. Okay, this is another project that's actually from this year, where I took a movement from a suite called Lights in the Forest, movement 5, and we made a video out of it. And I wanted to show you that what we have here is a score that looks like everything is notated. And it is, in a way. But more importantly, I asked every player to improvise on the second take. So we got one take where they played what's written, and then one take where they improvised around that. And in my experience, I found that you get the most powerful, intense, and attractive musical grooves when the players are allowed to improvise. Yeah, you can get some wonderful rhythmic effects when everybody's playing together. But just to my personal taste, I think that things groove harder and are more attractive to a general audience when the players are allowed to improvise. So here's an example where everything is notated and everything is improvised, and I'm mixing and matching those things along with our amazing engineer, Mike Arvold, who you saw setting up the equipment in Mount Wilson. And I'll let you take a listen to that for a couple of minutes, just so you can see how this idea of combining notated and non-notated music in the same composition can also produce something that's more toe tapping and easily accessible.
Rolling. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so hopefully you guys got the sense that there's something that's tonal and has a steady beat, but also combines both notational and non-notational elements in the same piece. It's not really part of the Universe project, but I thought it was important to show that you could, combine those techniques in a completely different context, and that it could be useful for people who are, just doing stuff that's more traditional music or commercial music. And of course, the video was, just fun, but it was fun under social distancing. That whole thing was shot by people who were either socially distant, at least 6 feet from each other, or had quarantined together. So the people who were in their own bubble, were able to kind of jam together. But like those shots of Rachel that look like close-ups, those are actually like 12 feet away from her, but with a good camera, good lens. All right, so I think next thing we might want to go to now is an even bigger perspective on everything. But first, let me see that I've gone through the scores I wanted to show you. Yeah, we went through that, so yeah, okay. So now what I want to do is show you something where we're getting further out into the cosmos. We're going to take sounds from Saturn. And let's see, maybe I should play the sounds from Saturn first, and then I can play the music that we made from it. So let's see, do we have that here? Okay, here we go. All right, hopefully that will show up now. There we go. Okay, so these are sounds picked up by the Cassini mission, the one that was up in space for 18 years and got those incredible photos flying through as well as around the rings of Saturn. Well, this is what the radio telemetry picked up. These are radio emissions from the rings of Saturn. They're naturally occurring. They were just broadcast back to Earth and then played back through a speaker. And this is what they sound like. Okay, so that's kind of spooky and far out, and I'm sure you guys can kind of imagine that there's a lot of musical possibilities that you could do with those sounds, especially, you know, once you get your hands on them in your DAW and start, you know, doing things like pitch and time stretching them or filtering them so you can emphasize things that you want to bring out. And here is a video with those sounds that are, you know, processed by me. And forgive my editing, I'm the one who also edited this. Okay, so hopefully you got a sense of being out around Saturn and floating in space and seeing amazing things there. Or if not, you just heard something really trippy and weird. But I did my best to try and convey something about Saturn there. And okay, we're getting close to the hour, so I'm going to play one more. There are some things that are so extreme in time and space, so far away and so vast that there's no direct way for humans to visualize the whole thing because, you know, they happen over billions of light years and billions of years of time. So I turned to computer modeling, and there's a wonderful simulation called the cosmic web simulation. And this is an attempt by scientists to take data on the most distant things that we can see in the universe and put them all together into one animation. And it turns out that there is a structure that goes at a much higher level, much vaster scale than planets and stars or galaxies or even clusters of galaxies. There's something called the cosmic web. And in the simulation that you're going to see, it's based on real data, but it's actually each point of light in it is a galaxy. This is on a scale that's so vast that it really is impossible for any human to imagine it. I mean, not even the astrophysicists can say they really understand what this means, but they can build a model of it. See, that's the wonderful thing about science, is that even if you don't fully understand what it means, you can put all the data together and you have something, and then you can study it for a long time and try and figure out what it means. And I tried to musicalize that a little bit. So Again, I hope this works over Zoom. This is a little bit of the cosmic web. Of course, I'd love to do that with a real orchestra, but at least you guys can kind of get a sense of it. So I'm happy to answer questions at this point. The cosmic microwave radiation sounds that I played for you before are in that too, in the background. Again, this is really complex, a real challenge for the mixer to layer in, the cosmic sonifications that have been transformed into something musical, plus the electronics, plus the acoustic music, and it'll look and sound better at these links. Here's a couple I'm putting in the chat. One is the aurora, where you can see the whole thing there, and another is Lights in the Forest. And those are YouTube links, and they're only a few minutes long. So if you want to see how it's supposed to look and sound, then you can go there. And I know this isn't a typical concert music, but I thought that as fellow composers, that you might find it interesting to be exploring this this kind of new frontier of nature music. I mean, going back to way before Vivaldi, we've had musical depictions of nature, and then the Four Seasons, and pastorals are still being written today. So this is kind of my idea of nature music. So open for questions, comments.
So David, can you, on the NASA site, can you listen to sounds that they've captured?
You have to search for it. There are some on NASA. There's some at the Goddard Space Flight. There's some at different universities like University of Iowa and Cal Berkeley. It's around. I can send you links if you're interested.
You can search the raw audio. What would you search for?
Oh, you just go to pages where they have a bunch of sonifications that they put up. In other words, this is something that different labs do routinely to try and help analyze the data. This is also done in other sciences, like in biology. They do data sonification of DNA, because again, DNA is something that's so complex that they're searching for different ways to represent it so they can try and understand it better. So I actually did a DNA music concert like 20 years ago, where we took the data sonification of DNA and gave it to an ensemble of live instruments, and we did it on the Santa Monica Promenade.
Well, does the space shuttle record sound?
Well, they do record sound, but again, most of what you're listening to here are radio waves, and they all record radio waves. It's just that some radio waves are in the audible frequency, or they're within an octave either way, of audible. So if you bring it down an octave or bring it up an octave, then it's easier to hear the the overtones.
So if they had a microphone outside of the space shuttle, what would you hear?
Well, if they're in orbit, you wouldn't hear anything unless a meteor hit the microphone, in which case you'd hear and then silence. But if you had the microphone on the shuttle and it was in reentry, then you'd hear, the microphone being burnt to a crisp. Because, space is a vacuum, so there's no sound in the vacuum of space that's audible. But this could get into a whole other discussion. There is something called the baryonic acoustic oscillations, which are actual sound waves that are way too low frequency. But it turns out that there are actually sound waves, vibrating sound waves going through the whole universe. And that's also part of the cosmic web thing. But the waves are so big that, they're waves for Brobdingerian, proportion beings. So again, we have to shift them a couple of octaves to get them into the human range.
That can be your next piece. Meteorite hits the microphone.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So you searched all these out just on the internet, right?
Oh, yeah. Although I've had a correspondence with some of the scientists, like at University of Iowa or at the Goddard Space Flight Center, and they've sent me a couple extra things. But to be honest, there's really not that much difference because it's scientists.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, here's recording one of this. Here's 2, 3, 4, 105, and there's not that much difference between number 2 and number 102. It's what to do with it.
Fascinating.
Well, thank you. I was a little concerned that this would be a little difficult to get into. So, if you have any suggestions about how to make this more accessible, then I'm all ears. Henry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. Really appreciated all the sounds and the video images. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Check out the YouTube links. It'll look and sound better there.
I will do that. And just coincidentally, there is a geomagnetic storm today, and I'm in New York. And if it wasn't for all the light pollution, they're saying you could get a glimpse of the aurora here in New York because of that, pretty significant storm that's taking place. So I'm going to check it out later tonight, but I doubt I'll see anything.
Yeah. Well, when I saw the auroras, it's been up in Anchorage, Alaska, where it doesn't even get dark until midnight.
Or later.
Or later. Oh, you've been there.
I have. It's just phenomenal. It's otherworldly.
It is.
Yeah, it is otherworldly.
And what time of year were you there?
I was there actually in, I've been there many times of the year, but I was there in June. I was there in August. I was there in September. I was there in January. I had a commission to write a piece for the Kenai Peninsula. And so I went 6 or 7 times up to Anchorage and then down into the Kenai. I would move there in a heartbeat. I might.
Yeah, that's
one of my nephews lives there.
Pardon?
One of my nephews lives there. He loves it.
Oh, it's just magnificent. Yeah.
Well, in January or September, that's aurora season. You probably got to see it.
Yeah, I did.
Well, how am I doing? Am I catching any of that?
You are. You are. I mean, you were asking what else you could do to. I mean, it's just wonderful. The only suggestion I might have is to do more visuals of what of nature. But the music is wonderful, and the sounds are unique, and it's wonderful, David.
Thank you so much. Well, the visuals, of course, tend to be the most expensive part.
Right.
So that's those are slower to come together. But who knows? I may just do another Aurora movement as an excuse to go back up.
Oh, absolutely. Any excuse to go back up there.
Well, thank you, David. I appreciate you doing this. It was very interesting.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you're here. I really respect your judgment, and I'm glad I held your attention for at least a little while.
Sure. Just find all the other aspects so you can play off of them, you know? It's great.
So aren't the audio, the pictures from the missions, aren't those for free? Can't you access those for free?
All the materials that you've seen here are free public domain, with the exception of Sean's Aurora photographs. She's very reasonable.
Well, keep in mind, as long as you're not going to be selling the videos, I would not worry about copyright that much.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Because it's not as though you're going to be making any money off of it, so who's going to care?
yeah, nobody's going to care anyway. But like I said, everything that you've seen here, with that one exception, is all in the public domain, and anybody can use it. And the quality is just out of this world. They have super high def 8K images of just about everything that they've done in the last 15 years. And, you know, we can't even use the images at their full resolution because, you know, the editor doesn't want to upgrade their computer to handle that level of high def.
Well, I'll bet you could find some really great animations on the NASA website to use with your stuff.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, there's great animations out there. In fact, there's a JPL app that has the Earth and the solar system constantly being monitored, and they have animations of it. And it's something you can download to your phone. It's free, and I don't want to take time to hunt for it, but it's, if you go into App Store or the Play Store and just look under JPL, they have all these apps you can download for free that have amazing images and amazing animations that are for free. And if you write them, they'll just send you the animation in high def so you can use it in your project.
Well, I'll send you the information for a friend of mine named Todd Barber. He works at JPL. He worked on the Cassini project.
I know Todd.
Yeah, well, contact Todd. He's friendly as all heck, and he'd be happy to help you find other images and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, he's great, I've actually been in mission control with him during a real mission. That's also something. If you haven't been to the JPL mission control, either when there's a mission happening or just on a tour, that's also just an incredible, inspiring experience. I mean, these people who have dedicated their lives to going where no one has gone before, and they've got proof.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, listen, great job, man. Thank you so much for sharing.
Hey,
Thank you.
thanks so much.
See you all later.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Board meeting, and on the 12th, send in music. You can send it now, or you can wait till the 12th. The sooner, the better.